Nancy Lieberman, who's a Basketball Hall of Famer, assistant coach with the Sacramento Kings. And Nance, kind enough to join us. Nance, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Give people an idea of Pat Summitt, the person. We know the coach, but was she the same kind of person as she was as a coach?
She was very humble for everything that she had obtained and done in her career as a player and a coach. When I would go to Knoxville, I mean, she'd be cooking up a storm for people. My son TJ and TJ and Tyler would be playing with Pokemon cards. They'd be on those motorized Jeeps playing in the yard. And we would just be in the kitchen cooking. I mean, that's the side of Pat. Another side of Pat that I know, but can you imagine me being her teammate at 16 and really not knowing where I belong on that Olympic team because I was so much younger? And Pat would just kind of plop in my room, talk to me, walk with me on the court. She would also tell me how important my role is, even though I was the 12th man on the 76 Olympic team. I remember her saying, you're going to be the 12th man here, but you're going to be the man in the future of women's basketball. And I didn't know what she meant in 76, but she just gave me so much toughness. She always said, be humble no matter what you do, be a great teammate. And, I tell this story all the time where anytime something major happened to me in my career, whether it was coaching in the WNBA or, coaching men's basketball, I would pick up the phone and I'd call her and I'd say, what do you think? And she would just say, you have to do this. When Donnie Nelson hired me, she was like, Nancy, you have to do this. And she was kind of my checks and balances throughout my career.
I mentioned the importance of Pat Summitt. I didn't think I was overstating it. I mentioned that, Dr. Naismith invented this and, put the peach basket up with the ladder there. But she was that to women's basketball. The importance of Pat Summitt to women's athletics as well. Can you sum that up?
Yes, I can, because when she started at Tennessee and Tennessee, started winning championships in 87, then go back in history and find out how many times Pat Summitt scheduled a game at the other guy's court to help build their program. She did it for TCU. She did it for Sherry Cole. She did it for UConn. She did it for everybody. There's no stat line for helping somebody, change how women's basketball is perceived. And I'll never forget, we won the back-to-back national championships at Old Dominion. And she looked at me and she says, we have to do this. We have to have a sold-out crowd like you guys do at Old Dominion. And she used Old Dominion as kind of her measuring stick of how she wanted Tennessee to be. And then she just took it to a whole nother level.
I just remember the intimidation factor when I was hosting the Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year Award a couple of years ago, and it was Mike Krzyzewski and Pat Summitt. I had no problem walking up to Coach K. I didn't want to walk up to Pat Summitt. She intimidated me. I didn't want that look, Nance.
You knew where you stood with her. Okay, so we're teammates in 76. We win the silver medal. And USA Basketball says to her, we want you to coach your first USA team. It was the junior national team. And I'm in my apartment at Old Dominion. I had just finished my freshman year. And Pat calls me and she goes, Nancy, I need for you to do me a favor. And I said, yes, ma'am. She goes, I need for you to play on this junior team for me. And she goes, I know you can play on the varsity. You've earned that right, but I could really use you on the JV. And I said, okay, no problem. And she would always thank me for not going to the national team and playing on the junior national team for her. And I was coming out of the locker room one day in Mexico. We're playing Brazil. And I'm playing against Hortensia, and they both think we're the best players in the world. And I come out of the locker room, and Pat pushes me up against the wall with her middle finger and puts it on my chest. And she goes, Nancy Lieberman, how many rebounds did you average at Old Dominion? And I went, 10. And she goes, you haven't had 10 rebounds in 2 weeks. And if you don't get 10 rebounds in the second half, I'm putting you on a plane tomorrow. Well, you can have Colin Warlick. I beat the crap out of my teammates in the second half and got every rebound because she was nose to nose with me, and I was so scared. It's just, she pushed you to places you didn't think you could go, but she was amazing.
I told the story first hour, Nance, just a little bit. When we were in Dallas playing the pickup game and Deion Sanders was playing Ken Norton Jr., and I said Nance was the best player on the floor. And the reason why I bring this up is Deion just admitted that he was close to trying to play for the Atlanta Hawks back when he was in Atlanta. And I'm thinking, you were the best player on the floor that day, and that was with Deion and some of the other Dallas Cowboys. You remember that?
I do. We were playing at the Signature Club, and you were staying with us, and that was fun. I mean, those are very real moments for a former Dayton Flyer.
Oh, you were a badass on the floor, though, man. You if you were hitting guys in the head because you were throwing passes that Magic Johnson would have applauded.
I was playing because people like Muhammad influenced my life. People like Pat influenced my life. And quite frankly, you know, Dan, we've been friends a long time. I was just a street kid from New York just trying to survive. And that was the only way I knew how. And you guys put up with me. And
oh, man.
I'm so thankful. I've had such a great life. But, you know, we're losing so many of these icons. I mean, from being at Muhammad's funeral a couple weeks ago to now Pat. And to be quite honest, you know, they called me Saturday and said, you need to get out here. And I booked a flight Sunday to go to Knoxville. And then they called me Sunday night and said, Nancy, you can't come out here. You know, hospice is saying everybody has to leave because Pat won't go. Pat refuses to die because she knows so many people are wanting to see her. And it's just, you know, RB and Tyler and Miss Hazel, her mother. And she just needed to be by herself. And here she is. And finally, she found some peace. But, you know, I mean, I love the lady.
That's a great story. Great story.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I appreciate you joining us. And I know it's a tough time, but I'm glad for the memories. I'm glad that you have some things that you can share to the audience, Nance. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate you so much.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.